Kaieteur Radio, keeping you informed.
Demerara and Essequibo 99.1 FM.
Berbice 99.5 FM. Kaieteur Radio.
Good day. Welcome to your news at noon on Kaieteur Radio. I'm Kevin Smith. Two citizens, Elizabeth Dean Hughes and Vanda Radzik, on Monday moved to the High Court challenging a permit issued by the EPA to ESSO for the pipeline that will transport natural gas to Wales. The pipeline is a component of the Guyana government's gas-to-energy project and was authorized by the EPA on November 25, 2022. Through their lawyers, Melinda Janke, Abiola Wong, and Joel Ross, the citizens are seeking to quash the decision made by the EPA to award an environmental permit to ESSO to undertake the gas-to-energy project activities on the grounds, inter alia, that the decision was in breach of the provisions of the Environmental Protection Act. In their application to the High Court, Radzik and Dean Hughes stated that pursuant to Regulation 17 of the Environmental Protection Regulations, an application for an environmental authorization must contain proof that the applicant either owns the facility or has a lease or other agreement with the landowner or occupier to enable the applicant to conduct the activity without the consent of the landowner or occupier. A recently published report by the Inter-American Development Bank revealed that the Latin America and the Caribbean region faces a social challenge, with nearly 18% of the population living on less than $3.1 per day. This was highlighted by IDB's chief economist Eric Parado in the preface of the report titled "Preparing the Macroeconomic Terrain for Renewed Growth." Parado said policymakers in the region need to design and implement policies that close development gaps and at the same time help them weather the challenges of the economic environment. He underscored the importance for the Latin American region to address a triple challenge complex interconnected macroeconomic issues to achieve its population's aspirations for development and welfare. In other news, ExxonMobil has to date invested close to $40 billion to develop the resources discovered in the Stabroek Block. And because of the lopsided oil contract it inked with the government in 2016, the company can recover the interest on loans it took without government's approval. Vice President Bara Jagdeo is reluctant to disclose the interest rates the country is presently paying, but businessman and publisher of the Kaieteur News, Mr. Glenn Lal, has evaluated that with a 10% interest rate on the $40 billion investment, Guyana could be paying at least $4 billion annually without scrutiny. According to the PSA, the contractor, ExxonMobil Guyana or ESSO, does not need the approval of the minister to recover interest on loans it took to produce the oil and gas resources. To this end, Lal has pointed out that the country could be paying more on interest rates alone than it made in profits from the sector. And moving on, at least 3 people died and 13 were missing after a boat traveling to the eastern Caribbean island nation of St. Kitts and Nevis from neighboring Antigua capsized early Tuesday morning, a government news outlet said. The boat, which capsized some 12 miles south of St. Kitts Canary Village, left Antigua with 32 passengers aboard. Antigua's government news service ABS said in a statement, with many believed to be African migrants who arrived to the island as tourists. Hundreds of Cameroonian refugees fleeing a 5-year war in the country's eastern region traveled to the Caribbean nation in recent months, local media reported, via chartered flights, which were briefly allowed from the Nigerian capital, Lagos. You're listening to Kaieteur Radio 99.1 and 99.5 FM. This is your news at noon. We'll return shortly after the break.
Right now, children are at an increased risk of sexual abuse, and the perpetrator can be nearer than you think. So stay alert and be aware. Be aware of your neighbors. Be aware of your friends. Be aware of the people you have in your home. Do not become complacent. Protect children now. You can make a report to the police or call the CPA hotline on 227-0979.
A message from the Child Care and Protection Agency, Ministry of Human Services and Social Security, and UNICEF.
Welcome back. A 17-year-old has been arrested in connection with the murder of a pork knocker whom he was imbibing with and whose lifeless body was found in the wee hours of Tuesday at 4 Mile Village, Port Kaieteur, Region 1. Police in Region 1 reported that they are investigating the death of a 21-year-old Shimron Benjamin, a pork knocker of Quarry Top, Port Kaieteur, who was found dead on Tuesday with his face bashed in. Police said that around midnight, Benjamin was last seen alive drinking high wine along with a 17-year-old suspect at a location in the 4 Mile Village. Both men appeared to be intoxicated. Police said that around 1 hour Tuesday, a 64-year-old farmer saw Benjamin lying motionless on the grass with blood on his head about 30 feet from his home. Meanwhile, Yannick Gilpin, the man who allegedly confessed to dumping his grandmother's body in an empty lot, was on Tuesday remanded to prison for her murder. The defendant appeared at the Georgetown Magistrates Court before the Chief Magistrate Anne McLennan. He was not required to plead to the indictable charge, which alleged that on Sunday, March 19th, he murdered 88-year-old Patricia Bovell at her two-story home in Russell Street, Charlestown. Gilpin will remain behind bars until his next court date, scheduled for April 11th. Bovell's decomposing body was found last Wednesday morning after police had received information that a strong stench was coming from an alley close to her house. When they arrived, they found Bovell's body dumped in an empty lot opposite her home. In other news, Guyana will no longer have to seek overseas helideck inspection services as the Guyana Civil Aviation Authority, or GCAA, on Tuesday certified the country's first ever helideck inspector, Mr. Adrian Bassier. At a simple ceremony at its High Street Kingston office yesterday, the Aviation Authority also licensed the helideck for the Prosperity floating production, storage and offloading vessel. Delivering brief remarks at the ceremony, the Aviation Authority Director General Egbert Field expressed that Guyana having a helideck inspector is very important since the country's oil sector is developing. The Director General recalled that in 2016, when the first helideck for the first FPSO had to be certified, Guyana was deficient in a helideck inspector. He explained that he had contacted the Director General of Ghana requesting their assistance and that the Memorandum of Understanding, which was signed between the Aviation Authority and Ghana Civil Aviation Authority in December of 2018, had allowed for the Ghanaian Director General to assist Guyana. And to wrap things up, the Guyana Revenue Authority on Tuesday said that in the last few months, its Law Enforcement and Investigation Division, with help from allied regulators such as the Government Analyst Food and Drug Department and the Veterinary Public Health Unit, Ministry of Health, has clamped down on a number of operations involving illegal importation and movement of large quantities of illegally obtained goods, including chicken and alcohol. Several persons were charged for the offences, the authorities said in a press statement. Meanwhile, GRA is urging persons with knowledge of smuggling activities to make reports to GRA's LEID on 227-6060, extension 3202 and 3206. Reports can be made anonymously and treated with the strictest confidence. And just before we close things off, let's tell you that construction works on the $106.4 million East Bank to East Coast Road linkage project with the Ogles to Eccles Higgs Bosch Road network are progressing smoothly. The new thoroughfare will develop the country's infrastructure as well as open up land to meet the needs of the agriculture, housing and oil and gas sectors, significantly complementing the PPPC administration's comprehensive master plan for Guyana. When completed, the new road artery will link the Eugene F. Correa International Airport with the Chetty Jagan International Airport. Thus far, contractor Ashoka Buildcon Limited, with guidance from Rights Limited in association with CB and Associates Inc., has completed clearing the site from a stretch of 2.3 kilometers with a width of 120 meters on the main alignment. And at this time, we close things off by turning the pages of today's Kaieteur News to page 7, dedicated to being blunt. The PPP government insists the Environmental Assessment Board is non-partisan. It doesn't matter that it only has people working for the government. The PPP government is known for spitefulness, vindictiveness. Who on the Environmental Assessment Board will take a chance, risk PPP rage? How can the Environmental Assessment Board ever be considered non-partisan? How can it do what is right and safe for Guyanese? And that brings us to the end of today's News at Noon. I'm Kevin Smith. Thank you for listening.
Want value for your advertising dollar? Then place your ads on Kaieteur Radio's newscasts. Streamed live on 6 different mediums, reaching hundreds of thousands. Advertise today and watch your dollar grow. Call us on 225-8465 or 226-8210 today.
Are you ready to celebrate with us? It's our anniversary and we have something special for you. For the entire month of April, spend over $100,000 with us and we'll give you 50% worth in free spots during this month. That's right, you'll get 50% more for your money, giving your brand even more exposure. Don't miss out on this amazing opportunity to celebrate our anniversary with us and boost your brand's exposure. Contact us now and let's make this month a month to remember. This offer is valid for the month of April only, so act fast and make the most of it. Happy anniversary to us, and here's to many more years of success together.
Kaieteur Radio.
Covering Guyana from coast to coast.
Demerara and Essequibo 99.1 FM.
Purvis 99.5 FM. Kaieteur Radio.